Welcome to Author Talk on CBSNews.com. I'm Jeff Glor, joined today by Amy Waldman, author of The Submission, your first novel.
Yes.
That deals with the aftermath of 9/11. And I'm actually, this is a good timing because we've actually had a couple months now after the 10th anniversary of 9/11 for you to see some of the reception that the book has gotten and the attention. Anything surprise you in particular?
Not really. I mean, I think it's been interesting the way I feel like some people have grabbed onto it as a way to sort of work through unresolved emotions they had. I mean, a lot of people have described it as cathartic. Other people just say it sort of took them back to that time and all the uncomfortable questions they were facing, but they seem to like that.
Do you get the sense a lot of people formed opinions about the book based on the little they knew about it without actually reading it?
No. I mean, there's people who say they either do or don't want to read a novel about 9/11, but I don't really feel like it's about 9/11 per se. It is, as you said, about the aftermath. It's a lot about the questions sort of we as a country faced. And it's about people trying to figure out who they are and what kind of choices to make. And so I get really strong responses, and they've always been people who read the book. I mean, they'll argue with me about characters. They take sides in the book, which is really interesting. That surprised me.
Let's talk about the book a little bit. So it's about the design for the memorial at 9/11. Obviously fiction, as we mentioned.
Right.
And it just so happens that in this case, the garden, or what will be the memorial that's chosen, is a design by a 37-year-old Muslim.
Right.
Which is what causes the controversy in the book. A guy by the name of Mo, who, by the way, isn't necessarily even a practicing Muslim, right?
Right.
So this is not a large part of the identity up until this actually happens.
Right. Well, it's first the attack that starts to thrust being Muslim to the center of his identity almost against his will, and so he's already battling against that. And then once his identity is revealed, because it's an anonymous competition, again, that becomes central to how people define him as opposed to how he's trying to define himself. And the garden actually becomes a second level of controversy because he's Muslim, people start to say, is it an Islamic garden? Is he trying to create some kind of paradise for martyrs?
And his life changes significantly because of that.
Yeah, I mean, the novel
Not always in a good way.
No. I mean, the novel is a lot about what is it like to be under that kind of pressure. And so that's true for him, sort of trying to decide how to navigate this process. Where does he compromise? Where does he explain himself? Where does he resist all of that? But also the other characters who are essentially trying to decide, what do we do about this? Do we allow him to go forward or not?
Your other primary character being a 9/11 widow, who had first pushed this project in this particular design, the one that Mo did. Who changes more, Claire or Mo?
That's a question, I think, for readers in a way, but I think Claire changes more. I think part of Mo's character is that if anything, he becomes more rigid, more steadfast, more strong in his refusal to compromise, right or wrong.
To his detriment.
Yes, I mean, it certainly hurts, I think, his ability to go forward, whereas Claire is feeling all kinds of pressure, not just from other family members and sort of outside politics, but in terms of herself, trying to figure out what would my husband who died have wanted, what do I actually want. She's really trying to find herself through this controversy.
I've heard some people ask whether this is America's 9/11 novel. You've probably seen those. I'm sure you've seen those same reviews, those same comments. Is that something you were shooting for?
Not at all, because I think when I was writing it, first of all, it was my first novel, so I had no idea if anybody would even read it, let alone sort of look at it in that category. And I really wasn't thinking about that body of work because I had the idea. The idea was very interesting to me. I sort of became obsessed with it over the years, but I didn't read a lot of the other 9/11 novels. I just wasn't thinking about it in relation to them. I think it was my attempt to wrestle sort of with what had happened to America and what kind of country we should be in response to that.
Why 9/11?
Well,
as the subject matter, or the aftermath, we should
because I think, I was a reporter in the years after 9/11. I covered the aftermath in New York City, and then I was sent abroad to places like Afghanistan. So I was sort of experiencing this event from all sides. So I think partly out of that, this constant shifting of perspectives, but I think also just as an American, it was a very difficult, strange decade because of these questions about, it was uncharted territory for us. We don't know how to respond. We don't know who to be in response, both as individuals and as a nation. And so I think I was just consumed by a lot of that.
One of the main themes you talked about in this book is is the issue of trust. You said it's a lot of the book is about trust. In what way?
Well, I think especially when it comes to Mo, he's an American born and raised, who also is Muslim, and a lot of the book is, can we trust him or not? And I think that was a question in the air, still is in the air, frankly, very much 10 years after 9/11. Who is an American? How do we decide? And how much is he obligated to assuage our fears in a way to build that trust?
The mosque or Muslim center debate was going on as you were writing this?
I had finished my first draft, handed it into the publisher, and then suddenly that exploded. So it was a little bit like seeing my novel come to life on some level.
Your first draft was a lot longer.
It was a lot longer. My first draft was well over twice as long. It was almost 800 pages.
And you ended up with, what, 300 plus pages?
Yep.
You were also caring for twins at the same time you were trying to finish this book?
I had twins as I was trying to finish.
How did that go?
I don't really remember, to be honest. I know they're healthy and happy, and I know the book got done, but how that actually all happened, I couldn't say.
I don't know either entirely, but it's
Great
a good story to
husband,
tell.
you know.
There you go. What country other than the U.S. informed your novel? I know you've done a good amount of traveling. Would you
Right.
say other than America?
I would say probably Afghanistan. I spent a lot of time there in the sort of 4 or 5 years after 9/11, starting that fall when I first went there. And I think it's the country in a way that was at the heart both of what happened on some level, because the attack was planned there, and because of our response. And there's still an American presence there 10 years later. And so I think spending a lot of time there, encountering Muslims of every possible belief, practice, stripe. The people are incredibly warm and hospitable, putting aside the ones who are, trying to kill American soldiers. And I think just that experience had a pretty profound impact on me.
Have you been to the memorial?
I have.
What do you think?
It's beautiful. It really is. I mean, and it's very haunting as an image, the sort of void at the heart of it. I think the scale of it takes some getting used to, just as the scale of the buildings took getting used to. And so I think there is that tension in it. Is it a memorial to the buildings? Is it a memorial to the people who were lost? And I guess on some level it's both.
Surprised how quickly the new tower's going up? It's moving fast.
It
I don't
is
know if you
moving
followed
fast.
The progress
Well,
at
I
all.
think once they sorted out some of the politics and everything.
Some of the politics,
Yeah.
which took them a decade
Right.
essentially to
Right.
do. What's next for you?
Another novel.
Yeah?
Yeah.
About?
I can't
Can't say
yet,
yet?
but
Okay.
I'm excited.
Nothing 9/11 related?
It's not 9/11 related, but it's a little bit about the past decade also.
Okay.
In a different way.
So how does one write, and what is the writing schedule when one has 16-month-old twins and everything else?
That is a good question. I think you write in the little bits of scraps of time you have.
Can you do that as opposed to just blocking out one big chunk during the day?
It's harder. I mean, I've sort of been promoting the submission and spending a lot of time doing that, and so I'm finally trying to set up a regular schedule. And I think what I'll try to do is just work, 3 or 4 hours in the morning and then spend the afternoon with them. I mean, the good thing in a way is with writing, at least for me, I can't write 8 hours a day. It becomes unproductive. So it's very easy to justify saying I'll work for a few hours and then go spend time with them.
So you find a 3 to 4 hour chunk sometime
Yeah,
in the morning.
yeah,
Not before the kids get up, otherwise you can be up at.
I don't think I can do
What time are they up at?
around 6:30.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
not too bad.
That's through Jack. Amy Waldman, author of The Submission. Very interesting read, provocative read if you get a chance. You've been watching Author Talk on CBSNews.com.